hören, wird der Akrobatik unter anderem sein am Samstag im Süd in Basel. Wir haben gehört, eben, er war lange nicht mehr im Hip-Hop so dabei gewesen. Ich habe mich gefragt, warum ist das der Fall? What were the reasons, Akrobatik, that you turned your back onto like the live rap thing?
Yeah, well, I had dropped Absolute Value in '08 with Fat Beats, and that record did really well for me. And that's when I started to go out and, you know, I was really going everywhere, touring in Brazil and Australia, like we said before. And I was also doing still things with The Perceptionist because we had just dropped our album in 2005. That's my group with Mr. Lit. And, you know, I was in the process of starting the Built to Last album, and then my health started to decline. I didn't really know what was going on, and then all of a sudden I had an aortic aneurysm. So my aorta basically ripped open one day. Yeah, so I was home by myself when it happened, and you know, luckily I had the ability to call an ambulance for myself, and they picked me up in time, and I just happened to live closest. The closest hospital to where I live is Mass General Hospital, which is the best cardiac hospital in the world. So they saved my life.
You faced death.
I faced death, man. I was actually in a state of medically induced coma for a while. They had to stop my heart. I had no heartbeat for, I think, over 8 hours. They had to put me on a ventilator. I have a foot-long scar down the center of my chest from where they had to open me up. So it was really serious, you know what I mean? So to come back from that, it took a while. I had to learn how to walk again, you know what I mean? So it was a really long process. It took it took a couple of years before I really felt like I was back, you know, so that was like maybe 2013. And so I was doing some shows here and there, mostly locally, but at that point, it was about trying to get music out there. Yeah. And because I was out of work for so long, I mean, doing shows and my music, that was my main form of income at the time. In fact, maybe my only form of income. So aside from the benefit show that my brothers in Boston did for me to raise some money that first summer, I wasn't bringing in much. So it just took a long time. I did a Kickstarter campaign to try to put Built to Last out. I wasn't so good at doing it, so it didn't get the required amount. So, you know, it took a minute before I was able to put all my stuff together and independently put the record out. But, you know, once that happened in 2014, August, from there it's just been go 100%.
How did that injury affect your life, your values and everything?
Well, I think more than anything, it just gave me more of a sense of drive and purpose. You know, it made me feel like I appreciated life more. I started to see beauty in things that I may not have paid so much attention to before. And, you know, you don't take it lightly when you get a second chance, you know? So now I just feel like I want to just live life to the fullest. I want to make this music and do this art for as long as I possibly can. You know, if I can go another 20, 30 years, as long as my brain works, I'm going to make music, I think.
Nice to have you back, man.
Thank you, big dog. I appreciate it, man.
College in Boston. You teach hip hop history at the UMass College in Boston. What's the content of that program?
Word. So it's really dope, man. It's like something that I never thought that I would be doing, but my life just naturally led me in that path. The basic bulk of the course. Well, first of all, up to this point, I've taught the course with another professor. Professor Rachel Rubin, who is the person who brought me into UMass. I just went and did a visit one time to her class where she had a class on American pop culture that did a section on hip hop. So I came in and gave a little presentation, and she's like, maybe you should come in and teach this class with me, kind of like as a consultant, like right there with us. And I did that for 2 semesters, and now I'm going to be teaching the class by myself, and basically it covers all of the elements of hip-hop and the history of it and how, you know, it connects to today's society, the evolution of hip-hop, the spread of hip-hop culture across the world, because as we know, I mean, hip-hop is ubiquitous. It's everywhere in the world you go. People are listening to hip-hop and
all over,
breakdancing and doing graffiti and all that stuff. So, you know, I think it's important in a school environment, especially higher education. I mean, people are out here living in this culture. They're seeing products being sold with products of, you know, with hip hop as the influence and things like that. So it's important to me that people know the difference between what hip hop culture is and what maybe, you know, the products of hip hop culture, or like,
Does
you know, the
this
mainstream.
make you angry? Like that things are sold with the spirit of hip hop?
It used to make me angry, but now I've been trying to learn, and I guess this goes with what your last question, you know, things that have changed about me over recent years. I think that, you know, not everything needs that kind of emotional reaction. You know, things are happening. You know, nature and history are running their course, and we're all here, and these things are happening. And you know, in ways, yes, we're forming it, but there's a lot of people out here. You know, there's a lot of different kind of opinions. There's a lot of people who have different perspectives on things. So to me, it's just more about, instead of being angry about it, it's just knowing that it exists, and then giving as many people as I can understanding. Because then when people have that understanding, the more people that have it, I think that's when you start to see a shift, and things can maybe start to get better, versus, you know, maybe trying to attack it. Like, you know, this is whack. We have to stop this from happening. This is bad for you and your kids. It's like, well, this is what people are doing. So just know what it is. And then if you know what it is, then you can make an educated decision about how you want to process it.
It's very interesting to talk to you. I think we need to play some music. Just
Tap out.
yeah, man, tap out. So and afterwards we're gonna hear some more. Nog het aan de kunnen mee van Akrobatik of SRF Virus. Well, man, we talked about the content of the program, of that hip hop history thing. You talked about 4 elements and everything. Could you test me? I mean, I host this hip hop show over here. So, what question or how would you test me?
I mean, you know, there's a lot of different aspects to hip hop. There's a lot to cover. So, you know, you can talk about the music industry. You can talk about the historic figures. You can talk about the dates. I would ask you this: what New York DJ is credited for being the father of hip hop? And for bonus points, when did this occur? When did hip hop actually get its official start? When is it known for having its start?
Africa Bambaataa or Grandmaster Flash.
Okay, those are both incorrect.
Fuck. DJ Kool Herc.
DJ Kool Herc would be the correct
DJ
answer.
Kool Herc.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and that happened.
I would say
70. No, 78.
That would be August 1973.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all right.
I missed that one.
That's all right. Kool Herc. I'll give you an easier one. How about this? We all know Tupac.
Yep.
Hip hop legend. Rest in peace. What hip hop group did Tupac start off as a dancer for?
As a dancer.
Well, he was a dancer, a roadie. He was just part of the crew. He was part of the entourage. And then he became well known because they finally let him get on the mic on the records, and then that catapulted his career. What group was that?
I don't have any idea.
The answer is Digital Underground. If you remember the record I Get Around, and Tupac has a verse on that record. That is a record that like catapulted his career. But I was on tour once on the Ruste Juxx tour back in 2004, and I got to tour with Shock G from Digital Underground, aka Humpty Hump, and he's on the First Perceptionist album actually, and we got to listen to hear him tell a lot of stories about Tupac and those days. So that was pretty cool.
All right, man.
Yeah. But
these are the things
we can get you in the class.
Oh, hold on.
Okay.
There is something wrong here.
we can get you in the class though. Maybe we can get you registered at UMass and do an online course or something like that, or abroad.
Oh, okay. Afterwards, we got I fill in the formula. So.
Nah, man. Well, I'm gonna shout out Tumor Records right now, just because I think that's the appropriate thing to do. I want to shout out my homies Patrick and Patrick. You know what I'm saying? For bringing me out here and making this show happening, and you know, just continuing to just transition with these barriers, man. We got a big ocean between us, but it's all good. Hip hop is universal language. We all here. Shout out to Tumor. Suicide Brothers EP coming soon.
Man, we got serious problems today, man. Technical problems. Akrobatik, you're about to come back and to release music with the Finnish, or with the producer from Finland, LX Beats.
That's right, LX Beats.
How did that idea come up?
LX Beats and I, much like the same way I linked up with the guys from Tumor Records and a lot of artists nowadays, we linked up online. He sent me a link to some beats a few years ago before I got sick, actually. And then when all that happened and I was away from the game for a while, I hadn't spoken to him. And then, you know, once I started gathering myself and thinking about projects I wanted to do, I just hit him up out of nowhere like, yo, man, I want to hear what you're up to these days. He had an incredible stash of beats. And then it turned out I went on tour in early 2015 with LOG and Rex and Terminology. And one of the shows was in his hometown in Vivascula. And we went there and I was going to record a song with him. The other guys were hearing that. I remember LOG being like, yo, man, y'all need to do an EP. And I was like, you know what? We should, actually. And so we started working on that. And then he came to Boston. We did the Shotgun single with the video. And next thing you know, we're like, man, this stuff's coming out so dope. We should do a full length. So now we're doing a full length album. And that'll be out at the end of the year.
So it's one time you met? One time?
Well, now we've met like 3 times. Yeah.
Okay. How is that work? I mean, not seeing and not knowing each other, just the music stands there.
Right. Well, you know, the music is kind of the universal language, you know, and hip hop is a culture that brings people together from all over the world. People that don't even speak the same language, don't write in the same language, you know. So I just think that for me, I'm very easy to connect with people if they're positive and they're productive. If you're positive and productive, there's probably some way we can work together and have a friendship that, you know, turns into us doing work that other people love, you know. So that's how I always looked at it. And LX Beats was just such a cool dude. And when I went out there and he invited us all to his place, man, you know, we really just hung out and got to know each other, played video games and stuff. It was just like being around one of my boys I had known since back in the day. So when you have that kind of connection with someone, making music is really fun, you know.
Last but not least, what's on your hip hop bucket list? I mean, until the end of time.
Yeah. That's a good question. Well, I would like to open up a hip hop school, like maybe a charter school that's based just around a hip hop curriculum. You know what I mean? Where, you know, you get all your math and your science and your English and stuff, but you walk through the halls and you see like posters of Run DMC and Public Enemy, and you have to have a required, you know, certain amount of hip hop courses that you take in order to graduate, that type of deal.
Like that on that Master Ace album.
Which one?
Like what was the name?
Disposable Arts.
Disposable Arts.
Oh, right. Well, that's a classic album too.
Yeah, that's a classic.
I'm actually going on tour with Master Ace next month.
Yeah, I read it.
Oh yeah, looking forward to that. He's a man. He's like
listen to that album and those skits on that album. You got a hip hop history in the morning, and then in the afternoon you got an MPC 1200 and everything, stuff like that.
Well,
that's the
we're
one.
already building towards that too in Boston. I volunteer at a place called Zoomix, which is right in the neighborhood where I live, and it's just a music school, and kids can come in, they can learn how to make beats, they can take singing lessons, you know, they can learn how to fix broken equipment, all this stuff. And so, you know, they go through that whole program and they graduate at the end. You know, it's an education. It's very important. I mean, music education, arts, I feel like more kids can connect through the arts than they do through just memorizing a bunch of science bullshit. You know what I mean? You unlock certain parts of yourself when you express and you create, and that's really important. So that's why that would be on my bucket list. Also, I've never been to Japan. I would like to go do a tour in Japan.
All right, man. Yeah. Last thing to say?
Yo, man, just come out to the show on Saturday. Sud House, Tumor Records is going to be in the building. Akrobatik in the building. G-Free, everybody's going to be there. Vibes Builder, it's on. CR7C, what up?
Und jetzt das letzte, was wir von ihm hören, wir hören ihm gerade nach einem neuen Track mit dem LX Beats hier auf SRF Virus noch live rappen.